very excited about our Rate My Landing Page workshop from our previous B2B marketing summits 6 months ago, 5 months ago. Definitely one of our most popular, and we also have the great pleasure of having one of our partners, We Crush Events, as part of this too. So I'm going to go off camera, and Esther is our host. I'll let you take it away.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to host the Rate My Landing Page workshop. And today on our panel, we have Zach Robbins, who leads our strategy and operations team with a focus on customer acquisition and retention through first-party data and omni-channel initiatives. And we also have Mike Brock, who leads our product and design teams that manage and optimize our consumer-facing websites and platform. We're also very thankful, as John said, to have Molly Nelson from We Crush Events. I know Centerfield has partnered with We Crush Events multiple times in the past, and they have the most amazing in-person and virtual events. And so I would also like to start off by saying, if we do have a little bit of time at the end of this session, we would love to also look at any landing pages. If you want to submit your landing page or website for review and feedback, please drop it in the chat, or any questions you have for Molly or Zach or Mike, please feel free to drop it in the chat as well. So to start, Molly, do you want to give us a short introduction of yourself? And also, as you know, on behalf of Centerfield, we will be donating to a charity. So if you can explain what your charity of choice is.
Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely, we're very excited to be here. We've worked with Centerfield since the days our office was opened as a small business, so it's great to kind of continue this partnership. For our charity, we'll be donating to the Bickle Foundation, which has been a great partner of ours through this virtual space where we've had virtual events. They've really helped us. It is a support system for MS patients, and it helps actually train service dogs. Many of our clients have made service dog toys that go to this foundation. And so it's been an ongoing partnership for us through the pandemic, which lots of opportunities have come from that. So we'll be donating towards them. So thank you so much.
That's awesome. And obviously, we're going to be reviewing the We Crush Events website today for this session. So could you tell us a little bit more about what We Crush Events do, what you guys specialize in, and also what you're actually hoping to achieve in today's session of Rate My Landing Page?
Yes, absolutely. So we do exactly what we say we do. We crush events. We crush them, we plan them, and we do it all for free. The tagline there is usually yes, really for free. So we're a corporate event planning company, full service event management A to Z. We opened our doors with in-person events. We're a co-founded business by two female owners. We hit the ground running with in-person events that carried us through. And then of course, as the pandemic hit, we did the big keyword, the old pivot to virtual events. And we have been selling virtual events since, where obviously now there's a little bit of tandem as well as hybrid as we start to maneuver back into the in-person world. But we're really here to connect your teams, expose your brand, celebrate your successes, whether it's client-facing, internal engagement. We're really here to support the corporate client by planning your events for free. We maximize your budget. So it really does kind of help take that off of different roles, their to-do list, as well as offer our expertise, because oftentimes you guys are busy running companies and don't have, the resources, budget, whatever it might be, to plan whether it's your in-person or virtual gathering.
Awesome. And what are you hoping to achieve out of today's session? Any of the recommendations that Zach or Mike might have, so that we can tailor it to kind of what your goal is at the end of the session?
Yeah, I mean, we really signed up with Zach and Mike today just to get roasted. We were in the mood for a good website roast. Let's see it. So we're hoping to really our biggest thing is we would like to drive more organic traffic to our website. A lot of where the leads we get that come through our web right now are purchase leads or based through our account managers doing their own very physical, less automated outreach. So we would like to get a little bit more of that natural traffic, with the result that once those leads are at our page, we'd really like to get more automated bookings for both in-person and virtual events. So it would be really nice to have qualified leads and be able to see, okay, they're submitting a real inquiry. They're not just reaching out in a panic for a wedding planner, since that's not what we do. And really try to see how we can capture more of that information from those leads to get to work right away on their in-person event or their virtual event if that's what they're still working on. So driving better traffic and getting more qualified leads out of it.
Got it. Awesome. So we can get started and I can share my screen so we can take a look at your We Crush Events page. So I think we can first start by, Molly, could you give us some background? Obviously, you just gave us a little bit about how it's more of a manual process of finding these leads. But could you give us some background on how you're currently sending traffic to this landing page, and actually how do new customers, I guess, once they land on this page, how do they interact with it? Where do you want to draw the eyes? What is the goal of this landing page?
So the goal of this landing page was specifically to get them to see what virtual events we offer so that they would inquire. Pre-pandemic, it was more to learn about the types of events we do, but we didn't really have a booking availability or even it was more of just an inquiry form for those in-person events. So if you click that Let's Party, they'll start to see what our virtual offerings are. And the way we get them to this is all of our email signatures are linked here. We do email marketing campaigns that have multiple click options throughout. And then those are all sent to leads that we've generated either through the platform where we purchase them or through our manual outreach, cold calling, kind of really guerrilla sales as our account managers do.
Gotcha. So if somebody actually wanted to reach out to you guys, they would maybe have to take another step, either I would think it's the contact option up here. Is that correct?
Yes, it does seem that way. I'm seeing as you're doing it that there's a couple extra steps there. So I'm really setting Mike and Zach up here nicely, I see.
I think the good news is it sounds like you have a really great understanding of like what does and doesn't work for the business. And I think you made our jobs in this roast very easy. I think both of our like talk tracks for like me and Mike are probably around like how do we translate that into like a web and like customer experience. And I think for a lot of businesses, just getting to the point that you've articulated in 60 seconds is usually half the battle.
Great. We spend a lot of time articulating. Now we just need the fixing to show us how to do.
We're here for it.
Yeah, I think that's a good segue into the conversation, Mike, about what are kind of your initial thoughts and recommendations on how to improve the engagement path so that when a customer or interested customer does land on this page, they have the least amount of resistance to giving over their information to Molly's team and making sure that they have that information so that they can reach out and provide the most amount of information and to really be able to pitch We Crush events to these potential clients.
Definitely. But before I dive into that, just wanted to give appreciation to Molly too for participating in this. To echo what you said earlier, we have worked together and having participated in the events that you guys planned, amazing, super fun, memorable. So fortunate for us to be able to provide insight and go easy on our recommendations here. But overall, did want to give kudos to, I love the site branding. The overall feel and look of the site is very modern. And definitely want to call out the logo. I think that's pretty clever to incorporate the hammer and the crush.
Thank you.
But to circle back on kind of your intentions and your goals for this page, speaking to driving more organic growth, and then to answer Esther's question about what could we do to kind of streamline that funnel. I will say, I think a lot of the organic traffic and understanding that's not the topic for today, it seems like you guys have a lot of great content there. And so I think one driver for helping achieve that is also working with PR agencies to be able to drive more links to your content, and that drives a signal to Google saying like this is trustworthy content, kind of identifies with whatever search terms you might want to rank for, and it kind of plays a factor in driving that authority of what you guys do here. Totally different conversation. There's a lot of considerations with improving that, but to circle back on the focus with opening the engagement path a bit. I will agree. I think the call to action isn't super clear. I love the let's party call out, but I think the expectation for that might be a little different than what users are expecting when they land on the page. And I don't think that there's a very clear call to action to drive people to inquire about your guys' services. And so one suggestion just immediately off the bat, kind of looking at the page, I would recommend maybe looking at the site navigation and seeing what we can do to incorporate like a button on there that might say book now or book today. And then to accommodate space for that, you might want to group certain elements on the site navigation together. So like, contact press. I even see there's a more, which I think, can you hover over that? Okay, it's testimonials. It might make sense to put those together in like an about to really simplify the navigation, and then have that button that drives people into your engagement path. Esther, can you do me a favor? Can you click on contact?
Yep.
Got it. So it looks like this is a two-step form. Can you click on event type? I think it's the drop down on the first question. Yeah. Okay, great. So you guys got two. Do you have a preference as to which type of event you want to drive more inquiries towards?
Probably in person, but of course, we want to be mindful of COVID as well.
Definitely. So a couple of recommendations on kind of the engagement path here. So to kind of share some of our best practices on the lead gen side, what we try to do when we ask prospects for personal information, we try to reduce friction there by adding a couple low friction steps before getting to that information exchange. And so what we do there, and I think what's worked really well for us, is we leverage those low friction questions to help inform whatever service or product that we're advertising. And I think this might be a good opportunity for you guys where you're talking about improving the quality of these leads. You might direct some of those questions around, what event type are you looking for? And then the second question might be, if you want to drill in a little deeper, like maybe categories of events you're looking for where people can kind of click into that. And that might help inform your sales team on what type of interest this prospect has as well. And then once they get through to the form step, usually that breadcrumbing process gets people kind of more involved and more willing to inquire about your guys' services. And we've tested heavily into this type of engagement path where conversion rate is improved pretty substantially with kind of those low friction steps prior. And then you can kind of ask for, their contact information. And I think event request, that step, I'm not going to ask you, Esther, to plug in information here, but I think you probably ask like calendar dates or something of that sort, right? Okay.
Date, time, head count, just like the very high level details that we would know where to send it to qualify the lead and connect one-on-one.
Got it. And then I noticed too, a lot of these fields are required. This is also a good opportunity to kind of optimize the length of the form, because usually a lot of people, especially a lot of prospects that are looking for a solution really quickly, you'll find a higher likelihood of higher conversions, higher inquiries if the form is shortened. But we'll say there's a fine balance there between, again, that quality that you guys are looking for too. And so, on the Centerfield side, like our culture, we're fanatical about testing these kinds of things. And so, it's going to be a matter of kind of seeing what fields may not be as beneficial for your sales team to have immediately, and they can maybe confirm on a call.
Okay.
Or what you guys need up front to be able to kind of ensure that you are funneling that quality through. But I think one of the biggest opportunities may be testing the number of fields first to see what that balance is, and then to kind of drive that further, adding the engagement path we talked about, like low friction steps, where imagine if this were a 3-step flow, and understand that in itself contradicts what I might be suggesting to add more steps to the funnel. But historically we tested into that again, and like surprisingly, like 3 is like the happy number, where if you go above 3, it might be a little too much. If you go under 3, you might hit quality issues. But you can add like really nice a UI where the question could be like, what type of event are you looking for? And there's like 2 buttons, right? And the buttons can be in person or remote. And then a user can click into that and then go to the next step, which could be like, what type of events are you looking for in those categories, and then go into the form. And then of course, test all and every variation of that to continue to kind of optimize for the biggest or the highest converting path. But immediately those are things I can think about and suggest for you to consider as kind of streamlining that engagement path.
Awesome. On the like technical side of it, when you're saying kind of replace that event type with more of a breadcrumb question, and then that leads to your next one, would each of those stay on this page as just different line items, or would it be that they need to answer that first question to get to the second? Or do you lose engagement there? Or is that where you're saying the plethora of testing comes into?
100%. And actually, excellent question. So I think there are pros and cons to doing both. And to your point, through testing, you'll be able to identify which works the best. To kind of illuminate a little bit about, just from a high level, pros and cons for both. I think the technical lift to keep them on page and kind of get them through the steps should be less. And so you might be able to test quicker that way, just to confirm that this path will work for you guys. But on the flip side, when you say like, should each question kind of be its own page, there could be some SEO organic benefits to that as well. So when you think about expanding your organic traffic aspirations there, one signal for Google usually is the deeper you drive users into your site, Google's going to identify that as you serving the right content when a person clicks on your search result for Google. Versus like if they land on your page and they immediately go back to the search listings, Google might identify that as, oh, this might not be the right solution for this query.
Tricky Google. How do we outsmart them?
I'm sure everyone's on that page. It's always a black box for everyone.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great.
Thanks, Mike. Moving over to Zach, I know you are really focused on different omni-channel streams. And I think one way that I think a lot of people like to reach out to companies is to use a chat function or other different types of functions to maybe grab a user instead of just a lead form. Like, what are some of the recommendations there? Like, what are some opportunities that you see that can be placed on the WeCrush Events website?
Totally. And I think that ultimately, like, there are really like 2 goals here. We're trying to improve like quality of inquiries and customers and quality of those inquiries at the same exact time. And I think like Mike's sort of thought process on making the funnel as engaging as possible to get users the right content as quickly as they're looking for it, to keep them on site engaged. And at the same time, you learn more about the customer as they're going down the funnel. We've learned that chat is one of the best sort of implementations of that through testing. And I think it follows a paradigm that we're also observing through a lot of testing, and that's typically more choice in terms of engaging with the user on the site. When presented the right way, yields both more quality and more total net sort of inquiries and conversions. So I think there's another needle to thread there with not plastering the chat CTA or phone CTA or even the online CTA all over the page. But when you find the right sort of balance between figuring out how to really create that entry point that Mike's talking about with trying to understand what type of event they're looking for and then maybe drilling in a layer deeper. You also pair that with engagements like chat with us or call us so you can really right size the sort of depth of information that the user is looking for with how you can serve it. And I think once you do that, that's how you can sort of drive incremental volume while also making sure you're not inundating your account managers with like low interest. So it's really all about like, how do you take the web form that has all the fields that you know you need today, and whether it's in like the web experience or chat or phone, like sort of modify that engagement channel to collect the information that like both parties need. The customer sort of looking, and then you as the end servicer. And through a bunch of testing, like we pretty predictably find that like introducing chat on an engagement that doesn't have it can like yield like 25 to 50% more total sales. And that's with like preserving the same sort of like interest that you have as a baseline. So I think like sort of experiments like that really just prove that injecting incremental user choice at the right time is usually that like perfect marriage of consumer interest and then like you being able to fulfill the service. So I guess like to that end, is that something you like the team have thought about historically? Or I know it might sound like a lot of the inquiry just comes through the web form. Is there a version of inquiry that's better for you? Or how would you think about marrying like the type of engagement with how account managers like actually work on their day-to-day with outbound calling and things like that?
Right. Well, I love the sound of that 25 to 30% increase. I'll take an account manager and they can chat all day if we're seeing that kind of rise in sales. So I do really like the idea of exploring that chat because I think a lot of times that would help with what we were talking about the qualified lead. If someone starts a chat, it's pretty easy for us to tell right away if it's a qualified lead versus what we call more of a desperation outreach of help. I've never planned an event before. So I think that would be great because we'd weed that out kind of in live time or convert it much quicker. So I really think that something like that would be beneficial. And then to your point, probably revisiting, right now there is form fields, but just revisiting how we use them at all. Do we really need the phone number right off the bat? It's great for us to have, but can we get by with an email and snag a phone number from a signature? So little tweaks like that maybe they'd be more willing to give us more, as you've talked about.
Totally. And two more quick thoughts there too on the sort of qualifying the chat user as it's coming in. Like with technology in 2021 now, like it's pretty easy to get something on the site that could do some like base qualification to weed out those like desperate users. And then on the web form side too, like as you think about testing, you could maybe add phone number as like an optional field within the initial engagement path, or maybe it's on the thank you page once they submit that. Maybe there's a phone number that they can call, or maybe it's another option for them to provide it for you so you can call them later. So I think sort of like the bright spot in all of this for me is it sounds like, again, your team has a really great understanding of like what works for you. And then you can start like iterating like versions of what was interesting to test based on those goals.
Yeah, I think we can do a better job too of tracking that testing to make those changes more permanent and substantial for sure.
Alrighty, I think we're just about at time. I think we had the session until 2:30, but Molly, again, thank you so much for letting us review your website, and hopefully some of the tips were helpful for really everybody on the attendee list today. Any final thoughts from Mike or Zach? Otherwise, I will wrap up this call.
Again, just a big shout out and thank you to echo what Esther was saying, and continue to look forward with working with you guys and looking forward to our next events.
It's great to put a face to the name. Thank you, Molly.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much. And as you saw our website, if you want to learn more about what we do, head there. I receive the info directly. So you can say, hey, Molly, and I'll get you more info about what we do. And then hopefully you'll see some changes on our website soon. Thanks to you guys. And we'll see all of you at your holiday party. So whether that's virtual or in person, can't wait, Centerfield. Thanks for having us.
Awesome.
Thanks, Molly. Thanks, Esther. Thanks, Mike and Zach. Thanks to everybody who attended today. A great jam-packed 90-minute session. We're going to give everybody time back because we know your workday continues. So thanks a lot. This will be on YouTube on our channels, and we'll also be sharing it out if you have registered. Thanks a lot. Have a good one. Bye.